The incredible truth behind the heartwarming betrayal in his elite business circle. Jake Adams stood on the edge of everything he had worked for, feeling the icy grip of betrayal closing around him. The whispers in Riverside, Texas were like daggers. His tech startup was on the verge of breaking through, yet rumors of failure swirled with the same intensity as the Texas winds. Could he really be letting down the community that raised him? The neighborhood barbecues, laughter, and heartfelt connections echoed in his mind, reminding him of the family values his father instilled. This moment could mean losing it all, or worse, losing the respect of those he loved most. Each evening, his father would weave stories of courage with that deep, commanding voice. A decorated veteran, he had taught Jake about sacrifice and dignity. Today, with his health declining, Jake felt the weight of his father's lessons pressing down like a heavy cloak. As the news of his supposed failure circulated, Jake fought back tears. He could almost hear his father's counsel, urging him to stay steadfast and true. But it wasn't just about business anymore, it was about his legacy. As he sipped coffee in the local cafe, surrounded by familiar faces, a pit formed in his stomach. His mentor, Craig, whose kind words once buoyed his dreams, was now part of this undercurrent of deception. Jake felt his heart race with confusion and anger. How could someone he trusted turn against him? Each tidbit of gossip felt like a stab, chipping away at his confidence and resolve. The loyal brotherhood he believed he had found dissolved into a mirage of false friendships. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the swirling rumors, something incredible happened. Neighbors began to rally. It started with a simple conversation in a backyard. "Jake, we believe in you," a mother said, her eyes glistening with sincerity. Soon it became a movement. They planned a community event, setting a date in Riverside's vibrant downtown, where the sound of live music drifted alongside the aroma of shared meals. It wasn't just about raising funds, it was about reigniting the spirit of camaraderie that had shaped Jake's life. Jake felt the swell of unity encompass him. As he watched friends and family, young and old, commit to the cause, an ember of hope ignited in his chest. When the day arrived, the energy was electric. Laughter and music filled the air, a stark contrast to the betrayal he had faced. And there, at the heart of it all, Jake felt his father's spirit guiding him. As the high-stakes business event loomed, where Jake would confront Craig and the influential figures of his ambition, he took a deep breath, ready to step forward. He sensed the risks, the stakes, but also the unwavering support bubbling beneath his surface. Just as he neared the podium, a shocking revelation about Craig flickered like lightning in his consciousness, compelling him to reconsider his next move. What lay ahead would test not only his ambition, but every belief about loyalty and integrity he had held dear. The air was heavy with anticipation, leaving Jake wondering, would he rise from the ashes or fall victim to betrayal? Jake stood at the podium, his heart pounding like a drum. The room was packed with faces he knew well, friends, neighbors, and familiar figures from the community. They were the pillars of Riverside, a community he had loved and served through his startup. Today, they sat eagerly, awaiting his response. Each pair of eyes seemed to bear the weight of judgment, and he felt a rush of determination, battling against doubts seeded by Craig. His voice echoed across the hall as he addressed the crowd. "Thank you for being here today. I know it hasn't been easy for any of us lately." He paused, glancing around. Murmurs of agreement rose like a tide. They were here for him, and that feeling wrapped around him like a warm embrace. But what matters most is that we stand together. A ripple of energy flowed through the audience, encouragement lighting their faces. He took a breath, gathering the strength of those he loved. "I've been deceived, and we all deserve better." The room quieted as his words sank in, and he could sense the tension shift. This was more than just a business call-out. It was a stand for integrity. Suddenly, a voice called out from the back. "What do you mean, deceived?" It was Mrs. Porter, a local shop owner who had been his advocate since childhood. Jake met her gaze, determination flaring within. "Craig has spread rumors to sabotage my dreams. He wants me to fail," he said, his voice steadying with confidence. "But I want you to know this. Our community is stronger than that. I refuse to let his betrayal define us." The audience stirred, murmurs of support rippling like quicksilver. As he spoke, Jake felt the fight transforming inside him. This was no longer about him alone. He imagined his father standing beside him, urging him to believe in what lay ahead. With renewed passion, he shared plans for the startup, a bold vision intertwined with community goals. "Together, we can build something that lasts. We can uplift each other, and that starts here today." The crowd erupted with applause, a wave of support that wired new life into Jake's spirit. Faces lit up with hope. They would not let rumors extinguish their dreams. But just as the cheers rang out, a figure stepped forward, the figure Jake had dreaded facing. Craig stood at the side, a confident smile plastered on his face, a mask hiding the tensions brewing just beneath. "Oh, come on, Jake, don't play the victim," Craig interrupted, his tone dripping with condescension. "You really think they'll go down with you?" The atmosphere shifted again, an electric charge passing through the crowd. Jake felt his resolve quake, but he stood firm. "I'm not playing a victim, Craig. I'm standing for the truth," he replied, locking eyes with his former mentor. The tension was palpable, a gripping silence that urged for some resolution. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He needed proof. "Let's settle this here. Let's lay everything on the table. Do you really think you can outwit the community you've tried to undermine?" A rush of interplay rippled through the crowd. Some gasped, others whispered eagerly. The stakes had risen, each heartbeat sinking with the tension in the room. Craig's face faltered for a split second, just enough for Jake to catch the glimmer of concern within. With this chance hanging heavily in the air, Jake understood he was no longer alone in this fight. His father's lessons of courage and sacrifice coursed through him, and maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tide. Now, more than ever, he needed to know the links of loyalty and betrayal running deeper than he had imagined. As he prepared to challenge Craig, a chilling thought struck him. What if there were even more layers to this deception? The truth loomed just outside his grasp, and he was ready to uncover it, but at what cost? Jake could feel the weight of the crowd's breath holding, an expectant hush enveloping the hall. In that charged silence, he sensed their solidarity. He had called for a reckoning, and now it was time to push through. "Let's be honest, Craig," Jake continued, his voice steady yet rising with urgency. "You've manipulated this community for your own gain. You've leveraged fear and gossip like weapons. But this isn't just about me anymore." He scanned the faces of his friends and allies. "This is about all of us fighting back against deceit, standing together." Craig's smile slipped just a bit. It was subtle, but Jake caught it. "You think they'll believe you? You forget, I've had my hand in this community for years," Craig shot back, his bravado wavering. "I know all their weak points. I know how to turn them against you." A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mixture of disbelief and anger. Jake felt their hearts sink with his own, pounding together, a collective rhythm of hope and fear. Ignoring Craig's taunts, he stepped closer, his body language shifting from defense to offense. "You underestimate them, Craig. They are not weak. They want truth. They deserve it." The hall filled with voices, whispers of support echoing back at him. For a moment, it even seemed Craig faltered, as shouts of, "We're with you, Jake!" surged from the audience like an unstoppable tide. He couldn't retreat now. Jake realized he had begun something that could not stop, his own revolution. Feeling emboldened, he addressed the crowd directly. "I need your help. If you've heard rumors, I want you to share them. If you felt the weight of doubt creeping in, now is your moment. Let's bring the shadows into the light." As raw emotion spilled from him, he stepped to the edge of the podium, leaning in closer to those gathered. Samantha, a younger entrepreneur in the audience with tears in her eyes, stood up. "I heard what Craig said about you. I thought it was true because I wanted to believe it. But now, I see you're trying to fight for something bigger than just your business. I'm with you." Her courageous declaration sent a jolt through the room, spurring more voices to rise in solidarity. One by one, others began to speak up. They shared how they'd heard the whispers, the petty lies that had circulated. Their truths clashed with Craig's manipulations, creating a cacophony of raw honesty that drowned out the doubt. With each voice, every word shared, Jake felt fear slip away from him, replaced by a fierce wave of unity. Craig pushed back, attempting to dominate the space with his authority. "You think they'll take your side? Just look at them, a bunch of followers riding your coattails." But laughter broke out from the crowd, laughter that echoed defiance. "Not followers, Craig, we're family," someone shouted. The community, bright and alive, was taking sides. As the tidal wave of voices grew, Craig's composure cracked. Jake took another step forward, his heartbeat matching the cadence of the crowd. "If you think your power will survive this, you're wrong. We choose trust over treachery." Jake had never felt more alive. He was not just in this fight for his startup anymore. He was fighting for everything this town represented. But amid the chaos, the rallying cries and the challenges thrown, Jake felt a gnawing doubt. What if Craig wasn't out of tricks? Just as the crowd swelled at his back, an unsettling thought washed over him. Was there something more that Craig was hiding? And would unveiling the truth unite them or tear them apart? As the crowd roared in agreement, Jake's mind raced with possibilities, each one more daunting than the last. The battle wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Jake's heart raced as he surveyed the fervent crowd. The energy was palpable, a surge of voices that echoed in his ears. But beneath that current lay a question that gnawed at him. What would happen when Craig retaliated? This fight was shifting, evolving, and Jake could feel the stakes rising. As Samantha sat back down, her eyes shining with hope, a few more hands rose in the crowd. Each voice carried a story of pain and revelation. There was Old Man Harris, who spoke about how Craig had lured him into a failing investment, and young Maria, who shared how she felt stifled under Craig's bullying. With each story, the crowd's resolve only intensified. But it was clear, unraveling their shared pain would be the easy part. What lay ahead was the real challenge, and Jake's mind raced with strategies. Could they rise strong enough to topple Craig? And if they did, what would that mean for their community moving forward? Craig, now visibly shaken, took a breath to regain control. "You're playing with fire, Jake. Remember, I know this town better than you ever will," he warned, his voice edged with menace. The moment hung thick with tension, as if the air itself had grown heavy. "Maybe it's time someone put that knowledge to the test," Jake shot back, feeling the heat of Craig's glare. The audience hung on each word, mixing anticipation with a dash of anxiety. Craig's grip on their fears had been powerful, but now it was shaking. As Jake glanced around, he caught a flicker of uncertainty in the eyes of some people. Could Craig's grip still be tight? Doubts crept around the edges, threatening to suck the wind from his sails. Challenging the old guard was one thing, but unearthing secrets that might destroy him from within, he felt a chill run down his spine. "Let's ask a question," a voice rang out from the back. It was Tanya, a longtime resident who had seen her fair share of Craig's manipulations. "If we can confront Craig's lies, what else might we uncover? What isn't being said?" A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd, igniting a fire of investigation. What could they dig up? What truth lay buried beneath the surface? "To confront a monster," Jake replied, encouraged by her words, "we might have to expose its heart." It was a bold statement, a possible way forward. But was it wise? He could feel the weight of uncertainty gathering around him. Sitting on a mountain of half-truths and manipulative silence, how many more would rise up? The energy in the crowd shifted from defiance to determination. They were ready to dig deeper. But Jake wondered if they were prepared for what they might find. As voices called out in solidarity, a growing sense of urgency filled the hall. Jake could feel the foundations of their mission shifting. But was this unity built upon trust or mere defiance? Was it enough to stand against Craig's decades of influence? And worse, would this community be able to handle the consequences of what lay ahead? As excitement mingled with trepidation, a final surge of voices echoed through the hall, igniting a collective resolve. But behind them all, a silent shadow lurked, and the air felt charged with hidden dangers. What would happen when Jake decided to pull that thread? Would they unravel friendship, community, and everything they believed in? Now, not just fighting for their future, but also for the past they thought they knew, Jake felt the pulse of his resolve quaking. As Craig's expression hardened, menace shaping his features, Jake realized the moment had come. Not only were they up against Craig, but against the echoes of what had been built on deceit. Would they emerge stronger, or would the truth reveal an even darker side to the community they all loved? The hall buzzed with fevered whispers as anticipation hung in the air, like the calm before a storm. Jake's heart matched the rhythm of the crowd, loud, chaotic, but strangely synchronized. His gaze darted around the room, searching for familiar faces, allies in this tumultuous journey. He knew they were standing on a precipice, and one wrong move could send them all tumbling into chaos. "Jake, what's our first step?" Samantha's voice broke through the din, her brow furrowed with concern. It was a question he had been dreading. His mind raced, scrambling to catch up with the aspirations of their new front. "We need to gather evidence. We need to show Craig for what he truly is," Jake replied, the weight of her gaze urging him to craft a plan that felt solid enough to withstand the cracks appearing around them. Old Man Harris piped up again, his weathered face glowing with resolve. "We can share our stories. Let people know how far Craig's influence reaches. If we hit him where it hurts, he won't see it coming." "I love that idea," Maria added, her voice shaking but determined. "People need to hear the truth about the jobs lost, the families affected. Together, we can make him vulnerable." Encouraged by their support, Jake stood a little taller, but the enormity of their mission sat heavy on his shoulders. How far could they go? What if Craig retaliated before they were ready? The thought was as chilling as the draft creeping in from a cracked window. Craig shifted restlessly on the sidelines, his eyes narrowing like cold steel as he scanned the crowd. "You really think you can take me down? You'll regret stirring up old grievances. This town is mine. It's always been mine." His tone dripped with arrogance, yet Jake could sense the unease simmering beneath Craig's bravado. "Telling the truth isn't a crime," Jake replied, matching Craig's gaze. "It's time you understand that your power is built on fear, not loyalty." The crowd erupted into murmurs, the energy palpable. They were no longer just participants in a meeting. They were a movement. "We need all of us to come forward," Tanya urged, her finger pointing to the faces around the room. "Every voice matters. Each story is a weapon against his tyranny." Jake could feel the fire inside him igniting as encouragement rippled through the group. Stories began to unfold, more than just personal grievances. They were tales of betrayal, lost hopes, and dashed dreams. Each revelation made the crowd feel lighter and more determined as they took ownership of their pain. But even as the collective energy soared, Jake felt shadows creeping in. Doubt returned, gnawing at his resolve. He remembered his own family's struggles, the sacrifices made, and wondered if this fight would demand more than he could give. "Do you really think we can win?" he asked himself softly, almost afraid of the answer. "Yes, we can!" shouted Samantha, as if she could read the turmoil in his soul. Her smile was the anchor he desperately needed. "We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who's been silenced." In that moment, something inside Jake shifted. They were no longer just a group of frustrated individuals. They were a family, bound by a shared struggle and an unyielding dream for justice.
But as the fire burned bright, Jake caught sight of a familiar figure at the back of the room, someone who had long walked in Craig's shadow. Their eyes met, and a flicker of something unspoken passed between them. Would they join the fight, or would they remain loyal to Craig? The stakes had just risen even higher, and Jake knew that the truth might unearth more than just secrets. As the crowd prepared to unleash their stories, a deep breath filled the hall. What would come of their united front? And in the quest for truth, how many allies would become enemies before all was said and done? The room pulsed with energy, a strange mix of fear and hope. Jake's heart raced as he processed the words hanging in the air. He felt the weight of the moment, the potential shifts in allegiances. It wasn't just about fighting loud, it was about cutting through the noise to strike at the very core of Craig's empire. Samantha stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "We are not just sharing our grievances, we are demanding accountability." The audience responded with nods of agreement, a chain of solidarity formed step by step. Jake sensed that this meeting was more than just a gathering. It was the first step toward liberation. He took a breath, feeling the air filled with determination. Yet lingering doubts crept back in. Were they ready? Did they know what Craig might unleash in retaliation? Harris gestured toward the back of the hall, where the familiar figure stood frozen. "Isn't that the accountant, Charlie?" he whispered. "He knows everything about Craig's dealings." Jake felt a jolt of realization. Charlie had been with Craig for years, a silent observer, adopting the role of bystander. Was he willing to become an ally now? With the stakes so high, Jake knew that if Charlie joined them, they could uncover vital truths. He stepped back, needing to approach the man without drawing Craig's attention. "Charlie," Jake called out, forcing himself to sound confident. "We need you. We know you've seen things. It's time to speak up." Charlie's gaze darted around, as if caught in a web of uncertainty. He swallowed hard, the shift from loyalty to potential betrayal flashing across his face like lightning. "I don't know if I can," he replied, his voice low and shaky. "Craig, he has eyes everywhere." "Trust me," Jake pleaded, stepping closer. "It's not just about you or me anymore. It's about everyone. We can create a ripple effect. If we all rise together, Craig's grip will loosen." As if sensing the energy, the crowd buzzed with whispers, a wave of encouragement washing over them. Some began shouting, "Charlie, we're with you." Others clapped, urging him to reveal the lies behind the facade. Charlie hesitated, the battle within him stark against the backdrop of hopeful faces. Finally, the tension broke as he took a step forward. "Okay, but if I do this, I need your word that we'll protect each other. Craig won't take this lightly." Jake nodded fervently. "You have my word. We fight for everyone here." The tension in the room shifted as Charlie took a deep breath and began to recount stories, details that sent murmurs of disbelief through the crowd. There were contracts signed in back alleys, jobs tied to favors and threats, and how the land was being systematically pulled from under their feet. Each word became a weapon in their arsenal. People listened, eyes wide as the depths of Craig's manipulation unfolded. Raw emotions erupted, a steady stream of empathy, anger, and determination swirled around them, and Jake felt the power of their gathered voices grow stronger. But beneath the structure of hope was an undercurrent of fear, the reality of what was to come. How would Craig retaliate? Jake scanned the room, taking in the faces of people he'd grown to care about, families who depended on each other. He realized they could be targets now, and the shadows of Craig's wrath loomed large. As Charlie's secrets fell like dominoes, mocking Craig's carefully crafted legacy, Jake felt a sudden shift in the air. Just then, the doors to the hall swung open, and a figure strode in, tall and imposing. It was Craig, and his eyes gleamed with fury. "Your little charade ends here," he boomed, voice reverberating like thunder. The crowd fell silent, faces frozen in shock. Tension rolled thick in the air as Jake's heart raced. Would they stand together, or would this moment crumble before them? Had Jake awakened a fury he could no longer contain? And would they find the strength to face the storm that was about to descend upon them? Craig's presence transformed the room's atmosphere in an instant. It was like a storm breaking loose, and Jake felt the weight of every pair of eyes, each filled with a mix of dread and resolve. The confidence he had felt moments before now felt fragile, shattered by Craig's fierce, intimidating aura. "Step back," Craig commanded, his voice rising like a tide. The crowd instinctively parted, fear coursing through them. Jake felt as if he'd been stripped bare, standing alone in the eye of a hurricane. "Who do you think you are, Charlie, spilling secrets to this rabble?" Charlie's face was pale, but he stood firm, sensing the shift within the thrumming crowd. "They have a right to know, Craig. You can't keep lying to us anymore." Jake felt a surge of respect for Charlie. This was the moment they needed, the one that could turn the tide. "We won't be scared anymore. We demand change," Jake shouted, trying to steady his own voice, to channel the rising tide of courage around him. Craig's eyes narrowed, scanning the crowd like a predator hungry for prey. "You think this is a game? You have no idea what you're playing with." The threat in his voice was palpable. It cut through the crowd like a knife. Yet among the worried faces, a flicker of determination ignited. Jake felt it ripple through the people, fueling their resolve. Someone from the back shouted, "We stand with Charlie!" Another shouted, "No more lies, Craig!" With each voice that joined them, the tension in the room intensified. Craig took a step forward, his eyes blazing. "You are making a terrible mistake if you think you can expose me." But Jake's voice cut through. "We are not afraid of you, not anymore." The strength of his own words astonished him, but he saw the crowd's spirits lift with rising hope. They were starting to believe they could take back their lives. Tension charged as Craig's fury hardened. His jaw clenched and teeth gritted. He stepped further toward Jake, exuding an aura of danger. "You are so naive, boy. You think unity will protect you? You'll all regret this." Jake's fists clenched. "No, Craig, that's where you're wrong. People are tired of living under your thumb." The crowd grew louder, an avalanche of shared voices rising against Craig's intimidation. "You can't silence us any longer," someone called out, and others echoed in chorus. Jake locked eyes with Craig, refusing to look away. Deep down, he knew this moment marked a turning point. He could feel the pulse of rebellion thrumming through the crowd, but doubt still lingered. Would it be enough? Could they truly face Craig and win? Suddenly, Craig's demeanor shifted. He smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the grin of a cat toying with a mouse. "Very well, if you want to play, let's play." With that, he turned sharply, gesturing for his entourage to follow him out of the hall. "I'll see you all very soon. Enjoy your little uprising." As the heavy door shut behind him, the crowd held their breath. Was this goodbye, or just the beginning of something much bigger? Then Samantha, voice quaking with emotion, broke the silence. "What do we do now?" Her question hung in the air, heavy and daunting, as they all glanced around at each other, realizing the road ahead was fraught with peril. Jake took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the courage from the crowd. "We keep pushing forward. We prepare. We must be ready for whatever comes next." With renewed determination, the group began to discuss their next steps, their fears slowly dissolving into a steely focus. But as Jake looked around, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the calm before the real storm. What retaliation would Craig unleash upon them? How far would he go to maintain his power? The stakes rose, and Jake felt the weight of their fight settling heavy on his shoulders. Would they be strong enough to survive what was coming? As they laid plans and strategies, Uncertainty blended with hope, creating a dangerous cocktail in his heart. And even though the crowd was aglow with fight, he couldn't help but wonder, would they pierce through the turmoil, or would they ultimately falter under Craig's relentless pursuit of control? As the crowd buzzed with anxious energy, Jake felt the tension wrap around him like a wet blanket. They were out of the eye of the storm now, but that didn't mean the fury had passed. He scanned the room, noticing Charlie galvanizing a group nearby, his animated gestures reflecting the fire still burning within him. It made Jake proud to see everyone rallying together, but shadows lingered in the corners of his mind. What if this is just the calm before the worst, he thought, feeling a shiver creep down his spine. Would Craig let this challenge go unanswered? Samantha crept over to him, worry etched across her brow. "Jake, are we really ready for this? We need a solid plan, and fast," she urged, her voice trembling slightly. He offered her a reassuring smile, though he wasn't sure if he believed his own words. "Trust me, we can do this. We just need to stick together. Craig may be powerful, but he'll underestimate us, and that's going to be his downfall." Her eyes searched his face, seeking conviction. It filled Jake with a sense of purpose, igniting the spark of determination he had felt earlier. Okay, she said, a hint of courage returning to her voice. "But we need to fortify our ranks. People need to realize they can't just be bystanders anymore." Jake nodded, feeling momentum shift within him. "You're right. Let's break up into smaller groups. Keep the communication flowing. We need everyone involved." They began to disperse, people pairing off and brainstorming ideas. Amidst the chaos, Jake felt a flicker of pride. They were no longer just a crowd being manipulated by Craig's fear. They were becoming a force, determined to reclaim their lives. But as they spoke, the door clicked open, and everyone turned in unison, breath halting. A few of Craig's henchmen loomed in the doorway, their stony expressions placing a chill over the room. "You all should be careful what you wish for," one of them said, a sneer twisting his lips. "Tell Craig we won't be intimidated," Charlie shouted back, his voice steady as he stepped forward. The tension pulsed, mingling fear with defiance in a way that set Jake's heart racing. Jake held his breath as the henchman cocked an eyebrow, glancing at the others. "You'll get a chance to show just how brave you are. He wants to meet you, face to face," he replied, his voice dripping with malice. "Tomorrow, at the old warehouse on 6th, it's time to settle it." With that, they left just as swiftly as they had come, leaving behind a storm of uncertainty. Conversations buzzed like electricity after a long blackout. "What do we do now?" someone murmured nearby, the excitement crumbling into anxiety. Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "This is our chance," he asserted. "Tomorrow, we face Craig, but we do it on our terms. Let's assemble again tonight to get our story straight. We need unity. If we stand strong, he won't break us." Hope flickered in the dull room, weaving through the threads of fear. More voices began to rise, eager to gather their strength. The energy was electric, a mixture of defiance and bravery filled the air. As he paced the room, Jake felt the gravity of their impending showdown. The hours spun into an uncertain future. Would courage hold, or would Craig's underhanded ways fold everyone back into silence? A knot twisted in his stomach, afraid of what he might face, but also fueled by the strength of those who stood with him. The night grew heavy with anticipation. Jake would gather every ounce of nerve for the battle ahead. Behind the haze of determination, dark thoughts gnawed at him, echoing back to that moment when Craig had left the hall. How long did they have before the storm broke loose again? And what secrets lay hidden behind Craig's smile that he'd have to face? Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was about to come crashing down. The old warehouse loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the morning sky. Jake could feel the weight of his breath as they approached. Each step felt heavier,
as if the concrete was pushing back against his determination. Samantha walked beside him, her hand trembling slightly in his. Her apprehension mirrored the unease that buzzed through the air. Around them, the others appeared apprehensive but determined. Charlie stood a few paces ahead, rallying their spirits. "We cannot back down, not now," he urged, his voice cutting through the fog of fear. "We've come too far to let Craig win." Jake caught a glimpse of the warehouse's rusted doors, memories flooding back of the last time they had gathered in strength. A moment of connection in the storm of betrayal. Despite the chatter that filled their ears, Jake felt isolated, locked in a mental battle between hope and crippling doubt. "Are we really ready for this?" Samantha said quietly, breaking through his thoughts. Jake turned to her, and he saw that flicker of fire fading. He squeezed her hand, steadying them both as he met her gaze. "We're stronger together," he said, voice as firm as he could muster. "That's what Craig doesn't understand." They reached the steps leading into the warehouse, the surroundings steeped in an eerie silence, as if the very structure was holding its breath. With a nod, he pushed the door open, revealing a cavernous space filled with shadows and echoes. The beams of pale light filtered through the cracks, providing just enough illumination to see the faces of their group, tense and waiting. Jake took a deep breath, remembering their shared dreams and the layers of betrayal that had unfolded. This wasn't just about standing up to Craig anymore. It was about reclaiming their narrative and standing for one another. "Listen up," Jake called, his voice barely above a whisper as the room slowly quieted. "We're here to take back our lives. Craig thinks he can intimidate us into submission, but he's wrong. Each of you has something to lose, but together we're unstoppable." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and the tension that had hung in the air began to shift. "Tell me what you felt when Craig pushed you around," Jake continued, urging them to share their experiences. One by one, his friends voiced their fears, their anger mingling with a bubbling sense of defiance. Each story felt like a thread binding them closer. "I felt like I was losing myself," a woman named Lisa shared, her voice steadying with each word. "But now I'm ready to fight back." That spark ignited the room, voices rising as the energy transformed into fierceness. It was no longer just about face-to-face confrontation. It was about reclaiming their strength, their worth. Jake's heart raced. "You see, we're not alone, not anymore." Just then, the screech of tires echoed outside, sending a shiver down everyone's spine. Eyes widened as a familiar black SUV swung into the parking lot. The shadows of Craig's henchmen emerged as Jake's heart sank. "Stay focused, we're not backing down," he urged, though dread gnawed at his insides. He had thought they could prepare, but in a matter of moments, they would be thrust into the very storm they had assembled to confront. As the door swung open and the figure stepped out, confident, intimidating, Jake's resolve steadied on the thin line between fear and courage. He could see the challenge etched into their faces. "We have one shot at this," Jake whispered to himself, taking a deep breath. Would they be able to rise and embrace the truth that had been hiding in the shadows all along? The first step into a new reality was about to unfold, one that promised to expose everything they believed. And in that moment, he wondered, would they be ready to face the raw, unfiltered truth that lay ahead? The warehouse filled with an air of taut anticipation, every heart beating as one in the thick silence. Jake stood before his community, their faces illuminated by faint streams of light piercing through grime-coated windows. The tension that hung in the atmosphere felt heavy yet dynamic, like a coiled spring about to explode. To snap. They had gathered to confront their fears and the monstrous shadow of Craig's manipulation, and now he could feel hope mingling with anxiety. As the heavy door creaked open, revealing Craig and his entourage, Jake's lungs tightened under the weight of inevitable confrontation. Craig walked in like a king upon his throne, radiating arrogance. His henchmen flanked him, displaying loyalty with steely gazes, all too eager to back their leader.
"Welcome," Craig said, an unsettling smirk creeping across his face. "I see you've gathered quite the little army." His voice dripped with sarcasm, tinged with a threat. Yet behind Jake stood the pulse of Riverside. He glanced back at his friends, their resolute faces illuminated by conviction. "We're not afraid of you anymore, Craig," he said, voice echoing firmly. A ripple of surprise echoed through Craig's ranks. "Is that what you think?" he retorted, feigning laughter. "Your little rebellion is cute, but do you really believe you can change anything?" Jake stepped forward, chest out, meeting Craig's challenging gaze. "This isn't just cute, Craig. This is about our lives. You've fed us lies for years, but lies don't hold power over the truth." With every declaration, he felt the tide of support behind him. The crowd surged, clenching fists and murmuring affirmations. "Truth is what binds us together," someone shouted from the back, emboldening Jake's determination. Jake glanced around, eyes sweeping past familiar faces that told stories of resilience. "You've taken too much from us," he continued, voice now steady as the ground beneath his feet. "But we're taking it back. You can't hide behind fear anymore." Craig's expression soured as he flicked an intimidating glance back at his henchmen. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "Bring out the evidence." Tremors of uncertainty rippled through the crowd as Craig's men moved. They set out crates and papers detailing shady deals, buried documents that seemed to signal Craig's strength. But they felt like the start of a domino effect, deceptive power about to be toppled. "Fear gives you strength, but it also makes you weak," Jake declared. "You don't need that power to have influence. You need connection, loyalty, and trust, something you've clearly failed to grasp." The warehouse pulsed as deafening shouts of unity cascading through the crowd resonated with Jake's words. He could feel their spirits rising. One by one, neighborhood voices sparked louder. "Expose the truth," shouted Samantha, tears of courage glistening in her eyes. "Tell them what he's done." One after another, Jake's allies began sharing their stories, projecting their journeys of pain and resilience. Each story unraveled more threads of Craig's formidable facade, each account stronger than the last. "He manipulated us. He took our money. He silenced our voices." Craig's confident demeanor started to crumble as small cracks appeared in his haughty mask, their collective voices making the walls shake. "Enough!" he yelled, rage bubbling to the surface. Jake seized the moment. "We stand as one. Together, we can build something real from the ashes of your deceit. Riverside deserves more and your manipulation." The crowd erupted with applause, fervor igniting the atmosphere. People were finding their voices again, rediscovering the power they held. Unity felt tangible, wrapping around Jake like an armor. "You think this is just a game?" Craig bellowed, fists clenching in frustration. "I have the resources to crush you." But a wave of solidarity surged forward from the community, bolstered by the raw power of truth. Jake could feel the tide turning. "Crush us. You've already lost. We're not afraid of your threats. We're here to reclaim our narrative." In that moment, the crowd surged as people began chanting together, a battle cry echoing through the expanse of the warehouse. "No more lies, no more fear. Our voices matter." Jake stood at the center, heart swelling with pride, watching their spirits ignite. There was a storm outside, but inside, hope flourished. And as the oppressive darkness fell away, vibrancy seeped into the cracks of their lives. Moments of bravery, connection, and authenticity shining through. Perhaps, in facing this storm, in being vulnerable together, they could emerge victorious. Craig's arrogance hadn't considered this, not the power of a united community. The dim light enveloping the crowd bounced with resilience and radiance. "Let's move forward," Jake called out, fists raising to the air. As unity shone against Craig's fraying confidence, the moment felt monumental. They were rewriting their story, wielding truth like a beacon. Through the thick air, Jake smiled. No matter what might come next, their fight had begun. The future was unwritten, but together they held the pen. And that was just the beginning. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire hope and unity. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement makes a tremendous difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this empowering ending. Your voices matter to us. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. True fans understand the importance of supporting our journey together. Let's make waves.